All right, take a look at this. We've all got one, right? That little white or black box we plug in every single day. But have you ever stopped to think about what's actually going on inside your phone charger? Turns out, this perfect piece of everyday tech is also a fantastic way to teach some pretty complex physics.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That little box is doing something pretty incredible. It takes the super powerful alternating current, AC from your wall socket, and somehow turns it into this gentle, steady, direct current, or DC, that your phone's battery needs. So, how does it do that? That one question is the bridge between our daily lives and some really fundamental principles of electronics.
And, that really gets to the heart of the problem this research is trying to solve. Let's call it the classroom disconnect. For so many students, physics just feels abstract. It's totally removed from real life. We learn about things like circuits and transformers, but we almost never connect that knowledge back to the gadgets we're using every single day.
And it's so true, isn't it? Students are literally surrounded by all this sophisticated electronics, but for some reason, these devices are rarely used as actual teaching tools. So you end up with this weird gap where a student might be able to solve a complex equation about voltage on a test, but they couldn't tell you the first thing about how the charger in their own backpack actually works.
Okay, so this is where something called context-based learning comes into play. And the whole idea is actually pretty simple. If you anchor your lessons in familiar, real-life objects, you can spark some genuine interest and motivation. It's not just about memorizing facts for a test anymore. It's about actually understanding the world that's already all around you.
So the big question is, how do you actually bridge that gap in a classroom? Well, this project came up with a really clever solution. They created a whole teaching sequence that uses professional-grade simulation software. This lets students design, test, and truly understand the circuit of a power adapter, all before they even touch a single real component. The tool they used is called KiCad, and what's so cool about this is that it's not some dumbed-down educational toy. Nope, this is an open-source software suite that actual engineers use out in the real world to design everything from simple circuits to super complex printed circuit boards, PCBs. The students get to use the real deal. Now, you might have heard of another popular simulator called LT-Spice, and it's great. But the researchers here chose KiCad for a really important reason, which this table kind of shows. See, while LT-Spice is awesome for pure simulation, KiCad gives you the whole shebang, a complete workflow. Students can simulate the circuit and then use the exact same software to design the physical circuit board layout. It connects the theory directly to the final product. And they didn't just throw the students in the deep end either. It wasn't a here's the software, good luck kind of situation. No, they were guided through the whole design process in 3 really logical, manageable steps. And that structure is absolutely key to making a complex professional tool like this accessible to kids who are just learning. All right, first up, the transformer. So students start by building a virtual one, just like in the diagram. The whole point here is to take that high voltage AC signal coming from the wall and step it down to a much safer lower voltage. And the graph at the bottom just shows this perfectly, right? The big red wave is that high voltage input and the much smaller blue wave is the lower voltage output. Simple as that. Okay, step 2, the rectifier. Now, the output from that transformer is still alternating current, which means the voltage is flipping back and forth between positive and negative. But a battery? It needs a one-way street of electricity. It needs direct current. So to do that, students add a bridge of 4 diodes. And if you look at the graph, you can see exactly what happens. All those negative parts of the wave get flipped up into positive pulses. It's not a nice, steady DC yet, but we're getting a whole lot closer. And here we have the final piece of this digital puzzle, the smoothing capacitor. You can think of a capacitor as kind of like a tiny, super fast battery. What it does is it charges up on the peaks of those electrical pulses, and then it releases its energy to fill in the valleys in between. The result? Well, you can see it right there in the graph. It smooths out all those ripples, creating that nice, steady DC voltage we need to charge a phone. So at this point, the students have designed and tested their entire circuit in the simulation. But the learning is far from over, because now comes the next really crucial phase, taking that digital blueprint and actually building a real working circuit. This is where the rubber meets the road, where theory truly meets practice. And this slide just perfectly shows the 2 worlds we're talking about. On the left, you've got the clean, perfect, ideal world of the simulation. And on the right, you've got the messy, hands-on reality of the lab.
The student's job now is to build this thing for real and see just how closely their real-world measurements match up with their digital predictions. This is that magic moment where the abstract becomes totally concrete and where they learn that, yeah, in the real world, components, they aren't always perfect.
The whole process actually follows a really neat teaching method called think, pair, share. So first, students think by working on their own, doing the simulations. Then, they pair up in groups to compare their digital results and work together to build the physical circuit. And finally, they share what they found with the entire class. It's just a fantastic blend of individual focus and real teamwork.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But the million-dollar question is, did it actually work? I mean, how did these students, we're talking 16 and 17-year-olds with zero prior experience with this software, how did they actually respond to using a professional-grade design tool in their physics class? Well, to answer that question scientifically, the researchers used a framework known as the Technology Acceptance Model. It's basically a standard way to measure how people react to new technology. It really boils down to two key things: how useful do they think it is, and how easy do they find it to use. So, let's get to the good stuff, the results. What did these 16 and 17-year-old students actually think? How did they rate KiCad? Were they totally overwhelmed by how complex it was? Or did they actually see it as a valuable learning tool? And the results were, well, they were incredibly positive. If you look at this chart, those green bars show how many students agreed with the statements. And as you can see, the vast majority agreed that KiCad had good features, that it was flexible, and that interacting with it was clear. Sure, there was a bit of a learning curve, but the overall verdict was a huge thumbs up. They actually used a professional tool successfully, and they found it super valuable. So, what's the crucial point here? It's that this is way more than just a single successful classroom experiment. This really points to a much bigger idea about the future of science education, and that is the power of learning by making. So, let's break down the big takeaways. What have we learned? First, this whole approach makes abstract physics tangible in a way a textbook just never could. Second, it gives students actual real-world skills using professional tools. I mean, they're learning engineering principles before they can even vote. Third, the simulation part creates a safe space to mess around with things like high voltage, which gets around a lot of lab limitations. And finally, the bottom line is, it just plain works. It dramatically increases how engaged students are. And, this quote from the study just sums it all up perfectly. By using a relevant, real-world context, this method sparks what's called situational interest. It's not just about learning electricity anymore, it's about understanding a piece of your own world, which makes the learning so much more effective and, honestly, way more memorable. It really makes you think, doesn't it? If we can demystify something like a phone charger to teach electronics, what other complex subjects are out there just waiting for the right hands-on, real-world approach to unlock a whole new generation of motivated learners?